Hello, welcome and well met. WR Frady here. Just wanted to come on, give you an update on what's going on with the map. A lot has changed and a lot has come a long way since the last update. And I'm happy to show you what's going on and bring you along for the journey to see a little bit more of what's happening. So, let's just flip this thing around and get started, why don't we? As you can see, we have filled in the northern lands except for the mountains and the forests. Now granted, the forests are going to take a while. The reason being is not only do I have to go through and ink in all of these trees and make sure they're colored in, I also need to make sure that, like down here, the names are in place. So that's going to take a while. That may take actually the longest part of this because there is so much detail in the forests themselves. Anyway, as you can see though, the northern lands are filled in. You got the frozen wastes of Ohara, and then you've got, as you come down into Lorenhart, you see that this border, you see where the frost starts going into the greener grassy fields of the northern Lorenhart. Then you've got the map starting to really come into fruition and come into being. Look down, you can see where I've been filling in the hills, which we're going to do a couple of these while we're on here. And then from there, I got down all the way to right here where unfortunately my pen ran out of ink, so now I've got to make a trip to Hobby Lobby to pick up another. But hey, delays happen for a reason, right? So it gives me a chance to put this together without getting in such a rush that I inadvertently make a mistake that I can't undo. So anyway, so what we're going to do tonight, I'm going to bring you along as I fill in probably these mountains right here in the Shining Hills. Oh, check that out. See that? Besides good old Aegis right here, the Rock of Aegis, or Aegis. Then you've got the Living Glass Forest right here. Just wanted to point that out. That one's going to be an interesting little twist to try to label. That's a very not explicit, what's the word I'm looking for? But a very unique realm. And you can actually, if you go onto my website, theebonstonetower.com, you will actually see a 3D rendered version of what the Living Glass Forest would look like in the autumn. Anyway, and yes, I actually did the rendering. That was some tedious work, but yeah, it was done. But yeah, we're probably going to fill in these. You've got the Iron Sentinel Mountains, and you got the Shining Mountains here. But then you got these hills that are right here inside of the what is that? It's Eldaron, right there. And I about got Avonlea and Eldaron backward, but then you got the Harrowshire Hills, I think is what it's called. Oh, let's take a look. Yep, I was right. Ah, good. I'm getting reacquainted with my world. When things have been on the back burner for so long, you will have a time when there'll be a lot of stuff that you have to kind of recall because there is so much detail. But yeah, then you got, now I probably won't do these hills tonight, but I will probably at least try to get these while we're sitting here talking. And other than that, you know, from what you can see, the map is coming along very nicely. And I am absolutely stoked to see this unfurling. This has been a long time making. When I'm done, the Sea of Tears and the Aquilarian Sea will also be done. I am debating on actually putting a grain out here in the Aquilarian Sea, but I may do that another way at another time, because the island of Igraine is in another section of the world across from Loren, whereas the continent of Gelinor is to the west and toward the Sea of Tears, and away on the other side of the Sea of Tears and beyond Darkenstad, which is the land of Dragon Death. You've got, or it's pretty much with the land of Dragon Death. Kind of give that an understanding. That is the place where the dragons go to die. So in that land is a land of wild magic beyond anything anyone can comprehend. And so that one is going to take a while in building. I don't know when I will ever have that mapped up and ready. Although the thought is intriguing, and I can't wait to see what I can do with that. Anyway, you've seen me long enough. Let's get to the map. Let's do some mapping, and we will do some talking while I'm at it. Now, as I'm getting this set up, I want to let you know that if we can get my channel up to 50 subscribers, I can jump on here and do some of these sessions live, to where you can be on and actually ask questions and see what's going on with the mapping and things in a much better light. Let me see if I can get a good angle on this where you can see what's going on. Okay. Nope, it's right here. I might have to move it. Here we go. Is that right there? All right. Let me get something here so it won't flood speedy. All right, now want to put down, get my marker. All right, can you see? Yes. Let me turn this angle this way just a little bit. We're going to start right here below the Living Glass Forest. Living Glass Forest is nestled right there at the base of where the Iron Sentinels and the Shining Mountains meet, just below the Rock of Ages. What will happen is, and I keep messing up the pronunciation because of the way I've spelled it, but it's Aegis. But every once in a while I'll say Aegis. So yeah, that's a creator error. So anyway, but yeah, the Living Glass Forest comes from the time of the Great Fairy Migration, when the fairy folk were scattered across Loren and the world to plant new forests and such. And this ground was just so infertile, so tough and unforgiving for life, that Shaladri, the fairy queen of her people, gave her life to for this forest to come into be. And when her blood hit the ground, the trees sprung up, but they took on a crystalline essence. So, to give you an idea for your imagination, if you have ever been traveling in the wintertime and you've seen the ice in the trees where the trees look like they're covered in glass, take the tree out from behind it, take the tree out from under the ice and leave the ice in place. And you'll have how the crystalline image of the living glass forest, and yet they're living trees. So, matter of fact, in the elder tree of the living glass forest, you will find the preserved body of Shaladri. And the fairy king, in his grief, went into the crystalline caverns that lie way up here in this section, right there at the base of the mountains. And he went in there, was never to return to be seen again. He was so filled with grief. That's why I always like to say, when it comes to the continent of Loren, or even the world of Alderaan, any of the stories, the worlds and stuff that I build have a rhyme and a reason for why they are the way they are, why they're named the way they are, their characteristics, because in doing so, it creates something that you will be more apt to believe in how you run into it. Even if they're just reading the fantasy of it, you're understanding that, these things have a rhyme and a reason for why they are. They're not just there to be space fillers, but each and every part of it is a character and a piece of its own story. Okay, I'm going to slide you down this way so you can see the Herefordshire Hills here. Alright. Now, this right here is the lavender fields. So the lavender fields, which I need to go in and bring out with some more lavender coloring, but, or not coloring, but more lavender ink for the flowers and the blossoms and such. But that but that's so yeah, I just want to let you know that's not a swamp. It's a more rich, enriched area of Loren. Is lavender fields because of the basically named for the prominence of lavender and violet hued flowers and plants there. Alright, let me get some. There we go. Give me just a second, I'll be right back with you. Alright. The Herefordshire Hills. This is the land of this is a land where halflings dwell. And you might even find gnomes here as well. Now, gnomes of Balador, gnomes of Areth, are not the gnomes of Dungeons and Dragons. They're not the gnomes that are tinkering and messing with machinery, but goes back to more the mythological and fairy tale aspect of gnomes, where they were earth dwellers. Much akin to dwarves, but they were more the ones that would tend to the earth, they would tend to the woodlands, they would tend to, they too would mine and work gems. And they were very earth elemental. They were more like almost like living elemental people, or living like a living combination of the fae and the or fairy folk and the elementals, not to be confused with the elementals of Alderaan. But yeah. So yeah, gnomes on this case, you think of like what you would see in your garden gnomes and stuff like that, and how they represent how the balance and the earthy aspects of the forest and the woodlands and so forth. That's kind of what we're getting at on that. I'm gonna move these down here. We're gonna go right here around some of these mountains. See, I gotta go do some naming conventions and naming stuff as well, because I've got mountain ranges that I've got to name, and I've got to do for same for many of the forests and the woodlands, some of the rivers. So as you notice, you get to come along on this journey to see this world really grow and come not just to completion. Oh Lord, I just seen the place I missed. I hope I got just enough ink in this to do it. Okay. I'm hoping I got just enough ink in this. Oh yes, I got just enough. Whew. But I've definitely got to go back to Hobby Lobby and get some more alcohol markers. Do is right here while we're doing this, I'm just going to back you up. Alright, now here you go. I'm going to back you up. We're going to do this little patch right here, and then we're going to call it for the night, at least far as for recording wise. Now here we go. Now, all right, we are almost to the bottom of this. Now, I'm gonna pull you off there and let you get a better look at what we just did. Move that out of the way. Okay, as you can tell, we just done all these hills right here, and see how doing just a little bit of shading makes it stand out as compared to just leaving them flat. It creates a sense of realism. Now what I intend to do with the mountains, if you'll give me just a second, actually, so what I intend to do with the mountains, since I did this the other night, and I'll get to show you again, is when it comes to the way I'm going to do the mountains and the mountain ranges, I'm going to make them in a sense similar to this when I fill them in. So that may be a tedious detail as well. One that will most definitely be very well worth it when it's all said and done. This map is turning out to be beautiful, and I am absolutely loving it. I am astounded. I may do stay tuned, I may do some small videos, like some shorts or something, but I might show some of my original maps that made this big map Matter of fact, let me move some of this. Let me move my creative clutter of stuff out of the way. But show you the ones that I'll show you the maps that actually made this up right here. So, anyway, that being said, I'm glad you got to see where I've come along on the map. As you can tell, it is coming along very nicely. I'm happy with the results that are coming out of it. Matter of fact, I couldn't be more happy with the results that are coming out of it. This has been exciting, and I am enjoying getting this put together. This has just been so much fun. So anyway, that being said, I want to thank you each and every one for joining me on this journey again tonight, on this next step of the journey. I hope you've enjoyed what you've gotten to see so far. Now, there'll probably be coming up videos when I'll sit and I'll talk lore. I'll talk about lore, history, some of the things that are going on in the world. I may talk about some of the cosmology, not just the gods and goddesses, and or let me rephrase, not just the deities and the Dionir and the Demios, which are the deities and the demons, but I will also talk about the cosmology as in the planetary and the Sea of Eternal Night. So, and the realms of Imperia and that area. So, as we go further down the road, as this is coming together, I'll get to share bits and pieces like that with you, and even some of the races. Some, you'll have some of your typical fantasy races, but then there's some new races as well. There's some new monsters, new creatures, as well as just different character types that will be included in the World of Areth. And that's not counting what goes on with Island of Igraine and later with Gelinor, and possibly even later down the road with Drakenstad. And as this world continues to grow, there's no telling and there's no limit to what can be built and done in this world. I mean, I know where I want it to be, but it's my coin of this type of fantasy I like to call fairy fantasy, because it's reminiscent of the fairy tales that Brothers Grimm, Hans Christian Andersen, those kinds, but then it mingles into the Arthurian legends, to the sword and sorcery. It mingles a lot into much of the genre of the broader genre of fantasy that if you've played Dungeons and Dragons, or if you do play Dungeons and Dragons, that you're very much familiar with, but more like where Gothic horror, like Ravenloft, is Gothic horror and is a very much more enriching Gothic horror. Fairy fantasy is like a sub-branch of high fantasy. Anyway, I have yacked at you long enough. I'm going to let you get off here. I'm going to get back to work. I will talk to you again soon. Hope you have a wonderful evening, a wonderful rest of your week. And, well, I will see you again on the next episode. Okay, everyone? I will talk to you again soon. Till then, have a good night. God bless. And never stop dreaming, imagining, or believing that you can do the things in your life you want to do and achieve. It's all at your fingertips, and it's up to you. So if you want to do something, if you want to build worlds, if you want to write, if you want to draw and make or whatever it is, you've got this creative, burning love for, this passion that you just can't live without, it's right there in your fingertips. Do it. If you know what you want to do, think about what it is you got to do to get there and do it. Anyway, till next time, peace out.